Assalamu alaikum students, this is Farwa Batul, your O-level computer science instructor, and welcome to another video. Since we have started chapter number 8 programming, in this video we are going to do activity 8.2. The activity says that in pseudocode and the high-level language that your school has chosen to use, declare the variables and constants you would use in an algorithm to find the volume of a cylinder. So here you can see that what you need to do, you have to declare the variables and the constants. We have already covered the topic of variable and constants. So if in order to get the basic understanding that what are variable and constants, you can go ahead and see the previous videos. Now, let me quickly tell you that if we are finding the volume of a cylinder, so what are the variables and constants we need in our program? So let me just quickly make a cylinder over here to make you understand better. In a, in a cylinder, we are having two different things. The first one is basically the radius of the cylinder, and the second thing is basically the height of your cylinder. So what we can do, in order to find out the volume, there is a mathematical formula that says V equals to pi, which is a constant, R square H. This is your mathematical formula. So according to this, we are going to have how many variables? The first variable is going to be your volume. Remember that a variable is basically a storage where you are storing the values of your variables, or let's suppose the first variable is volume. So in the variable volume, you are going to store the value of the volume of cylinder. So it can be any value, depends upon your radius and your height. So the second variable that you need is the radius. If you want the user to enter the radius of the cylinder, you give him a certain place in the memory where he can insert the data. Or in other words, whatever the user is going to input in your system, like if he says that radius equals to 125.3 centimeters. So this value is going to be added in the variable named radius. So the third thing is the height of your cylinder. It can be height, it can be length. There are two different names we can give to this variable. So this is basically a named data store where the user is going to store the length of your cylinder or the height of your cylinder, which is, let's suppose, 159.6. I'm just taking random values. So whatever the user gives you as an input, you have to put it in the variable or in the data store that represents the name of the variable. Now, this is what the variables are. For the constants, if you see the formula, in the formula, there is one constant being used, and that is basically a pi. We call this constant pi in mathematics, and it has a value that is 3.142. So we can simply declare that variable as well. Now I am using Java as my programming language. So let me just quickly go to the IDE for Java that I'm using, Intel IG. I will just quickly open it and let me tell you that how we can declare these variables that I just showed you now. Okay, so here we go. You have to open a project. My project is already being created, so it will by default open my Hello World project. Okay, so it's just taking a little time. Okay, once the project is being opened, what we can do, look over here. This is what I have already done. let me just quickly explain you that what I did here. So this is basically the main class. When you see on your left hand side, there is a source folder, and inside the source folder, there is a main class. This class is actually where you are programming, where you are writing your code. So you just open the main class, and inside that there is a main function. If you see that public static void main, this is your function. Inside that you have to do your code. So if you can see that I have made three variables here and the data type is double. Why it is double? Because double can store your decimal values and it has a capacity of 64-bit. It means it can store a 64-bit number. So we have written volume as my first variable, then radius, and then length. These are the three variables that I just mentioned. This is how you can declare it. You just need to specify the data type and the name of your variables. The second line that I have written is with a final keyword. The final keyword is basically used in Java in order to declare your constants. So you have to use a final keyword. After that, you have to specify your data type, that is double. Then you have to name your constant. So here it is const pi. Const pi is given, basically we have a variable, sorry, a constant pi in our formula that has a value 3.142. So since we already know the value of the constant and it can never change, so we will be declaring it as const pi equals to 3.142. And then this is how you can simply declare, and this is all about your activity 8.2 where you have to declare the variables and the constants. But here I have did something, some additional thing for you. I have put some value in radius and length. If you know the values, you can put them. Otherwise, you can take input from the user that we can see in the later videos when we will cover the topic of input and output. So here what I did, I just put a random values in my radius and length. Let's suppose the length is also a decimal value, 25.65. Now what you can do, you can just quickly write down the volumes formula. Volume equals to const pi into radius. Why radius is multiplying 2 times? Because in the formula we have r square. So r square means that you can multiply radius 2 times. This is how you are performing power operation in Java. Then finally pi r square h or L, which is the length of your cylinder. You have just written the formula, and once the volume will be calculated according to this formula, then you can simply display your volume by using system.out.println print line. Okay, so this is the output statement that you can use for Java, and in that you can just specify your message in the quotations. In double commas, you are writing volume of a cylinder, then your colon. When the comma is, when the quotations are closed, then you can specify your variable, which means that the value of the variable will be printed. This I already explained in the previous video. So you just go ahead and you can see that how we can display the different messages or different values of the variables in our Java program. So this is all my program. Now let me quickly see the result, that how it is going to calculate the volume of a cylinder depending upon the radius and the length that I have specified as 12.5 and 25.65. So in order to run your program, you just go to this green button at the top right corner of your program. I have just clicked it. Now it will take a little time to build the program. Once it is done, it will show you the output. Okay, it's parsing Java. Here we go. Now you can simply see the output, which is volume of our cylinder is 12592.54875. So it's a double value. If you want to cross check this, you can just simply calculate it in a calculator and see the result. So this is all about activity 8.2. Remember that I have just done an extra work in order to make you understand that how your volume is being displayed on the screen. In this activity, you only need to declare the variables. So let me just quickly go and tell you that what actually you need to do is you just need these two lines for this particular activity 8.2, that the double volume comma radius comma length is basically the declaration of your variables, and the second line is the declaration of the constant, that is const pi has a value 3.142. So these two lines is basically representing your activity 8.2. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helped you a lot. In the next video, we will be talking about the input and output statements. So stay tuned, stay connected, and do not forget to subscribe the channel. Bye bye.